Hello, I'm Lam. Welcome or welcome back to Keeping Up with the Queen. If you're clicking on this video in hopes of finding out more about the high-profile cheek palette from Nars Cosmetics as well as their new Unwrapped mini eyeshadow palette, keep on watching. What to do first? Let's do the cheek palette first and then we'll do the eyeshadows. I think that will be the best way, and I do not want to talk on and on and on for hours, so let's get going. The cheek palette is going to be 59 US dollars for $113 worth of product. A holiday themed blush, highlighter, and contour palette featuring 6 limited edition shades in one of NARS' most innovative formulas. From left to right, top to bottom, the first one is Nude Review, which is a shimmery bronze. The next shade is Spin Off, which is shimmering mauve pink. High Demand, shimmering cinnamon. Hit It Off, shimmering candy pink. Showdown, shimmering coral. Just Lust, shimmering raspberry. Now, I went into Sephora and I took a ton of photos of this collection. I have medium olive skin tone, and this palette it looks a little light to me. First row is more for highlighters and contour slash bronzers, and then the second rows to me is more blushes. The first shade is of course a bronzy kind of a highlighter. The second shade is a lot lighter and a lot more neutral in tone. The third shade is very warm and has some depth to it, so it will show up if you have medium tan skin. The first two blushes on the second row are very dainty and cute. The third one is the one that has some impact. So I do think this palette, if you have deep skin tone like tan to deep skin tones, you are not going to be able to use every single shade and be happy with each of the shades in this palette. I imagine if you have super light skin tone, you might find this palette not working for you just because the two contour and bronzers are so warm, and the highlighter is kind of not the lightest shade of champagne out there. So this palette clearly is for medium skin tone kind of range. I have here the Orgasm on the Beach palette. They do look, however, very close to one another. Like the shades could be interchangeable in my opinion. Definitely not exactly the same. There's this kind of deeper highlighter that looks like the first shade in the new high profile palette. This shade right here, although it has a lot more plum in it, it's a straight up blush, but it does look in the pan kind of similar to that third contour shade, and so does this shade right here. The blush here looks very close to one of the blushes on the second row. This one is no longer on sale. I have a review for this if you want to hear more about the formula and how it builds off on the skin, but I do recommend that new palette if you like NARS complexion product kind of formula, and if you have medium skin tone, this palette is going to work perfectly for you. So that's the cheek palette. Eyeshadows next. They're the Unwrapped mini eyeshadow palettes for $25 each. There is one called Orgasm, which is taking inspiration from the Orgasm blush that they're so famous for. It has a lot of pink, very sweet in color, and lighter skin tone friendly. And then we have the Dolce Vita, which is a more plump rose, a little bit of bronziness, but more toward the reddish and plum and pinks kind of thing, a lot deeper than the Orgasm palette. And then we have the deepest one and the most bronzy, the most neutral one in all three, Laguna. So all of these eyeshadow palettes are tiny. I'm talking really tiny. I feel like they're almost the same size as like a credit card. They're that small. So you're not gonna get a ton of product. You do have a nice mirror and you have a compact palette though. So the size really is nice for taking on to vacation with you or gifting. Now I want to talk a little bit about the formula. I am familiar with NARS eyeshadow formula. I have their Skin Deep eyeshadow palette right here. That is a limited edition, so it's no longer there. Nars really liked limited edition, let me tell you. Kind of frustrating, but their products are nice and luxurious, so we can't really complain that much. They do give us very nice eyeshadow formula. It's not the most creamy out there, it's not the most pigmented, it's not the most buttery and blendable, but they do the job. They get the job done. They are blendable. They have a nice depth and nice pigmentation. And when you put your brush into the pan, there's not going to be a ton of kickback. Like, it's not super powdery, it's more packed into the pan. As far as the matte goes, they usually have like a more velvet, like traditional shimmer, and then they do have a more metallic formula, and then they have the super glittery formula. So they do have three different shimmer formulas within their eyeshadows. So I do trust the depth, the pigmentation, and the quality of Nars eyeshadow formula. Then now we're talking about the palettes themselves. I did swatch all of them in store. I wanted to figure out if there's one of the three that I would like enough or is new enough to my collection that I can bring home. But as you will see, there are a lot of shades already in this only one palette from Nars that I already have. Because let's be honest, they're kind of like Charlotte Tilbury. They are quite leaning toward the neutral kinds of things, and there's only so many shades you can do for neutrals, you know. Orgasm of this one doesn't have any pigment for the lighter shades on my skin at all. As you can see in these swatches, the two pinky shades, one matte, one shimmers, those two are very pretty. The rest of the shades are just kind of non-existent on my skin after I swatched them, which I was expecting, so there was no surprise there. But yeah, this is a nice palette for if you have light skin tone, super fair skin, and if you have a cooler undertone, like a pink undertone, this palette would look really nice on you. The next palette, let's go down the road here. We have the most beautiful of the three in my opinion, and within my collection this one is the most attractive because of all the mauves and rose, and there is that intense like a plum shade with a lot of glitters in it. This is a very pretty palette. Again, a skin deep palette. I have some of the shades already, as you can see. I mean, not exact dupes, but I feel like I don't need another palette. The one I just talked about is Dolce Vita, okay? And now we're going to Laguna, which is the bronzy, very neutral. This one would be great for a neutral lover if you want some nice bronzes that has some depth to them. This will be your best palette. Again, very similar theme to some of these shades right here and this, like the lighter bronze. I went into the store thinking that I would like to get one of them to review for you, but then after I swatch all of the shades and the blush, the cheek palette, I already have very similar colors within my collection with only two palettes from them. So I would recommend you to look into your Nars cosmetics collection or your makeup collection in general. Do some swatches. Definitely go into Sephora and look at the palettes in person. If you are in need of a travel-friendly palette that you want to bring with you to not take up a ton of space, then one of these palettes would be wonderful. If you haven't tried any of the larger 6-pan cheek palettes from Nars, then get the high profile cheek palette. Is going to be great. Buildable. They're not going to be pigmented right away, so don't worry if the color seems so deep for you. They're buildable and they're softer, so you can build them up, and they all have a sheens, by the way. They're all kind of a glowy formula. The eyeshadow is just kind of up to your taste and your collection and what you really look for. I finally didn't buy anything. How about you? After this video, did you decide to get anything? Did you go in store? Did you buy any of these? What do you think of their quality? Let me know. I hope you enjoy this video with me talking about new Nars cosmetics. collection for this holiday. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Click that bell notification button so you'll be notified whenever I post any video. Check out this video on the Nars Orgasm on the Beach cheek palette for specifics on the quality of each shade and the undertones and depth and how they apply onto the skin and how versatile they are. And have a great one. I will see you in my next video. Until next time, please let the mirror shine into your soul. Don't flop.